Alasdair, I've got a quick question for you.
Yeah, go on.
Do you consider yourself to be essential staff?
Oh, essential staff for the pod. I'm over the age of 18. Is that a problem?
Oh, really sorry. We actually only allow children
Oh.
in our office. Do you at least have a firearm?
No, I don't.
I'm afraid you have to leave.
Oh, all right. Well,
Sorry.
Good luck to you and the kids.
Thanks. All right. We'll be all right. It's only the god of death. We'll be okay. Thank you.
It's all right. You guys will be fine. I'm going to go downstairs. All right. Okay.
Bye then. Say hi to Donna for me on the way out.
Bye. Yeah, we'll do. All right, bye.
Oh my God, it's so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. A siren's just going past.
Do you dream of being an ambulance?
So you too could be an ambulance.
Oh, that I'm going to keep in now.
Oh, hello, dear listener. How are you? Let's do a Dora the Explorer moment. How are you?
Can you say backpack?
They're not good, Sam. They're not good.
No.
They're quite stressed out.
I mean, we've been left on tenterhooks, my friend.
We've been left on eggshells. Is that the correct terminology? Left on eggshells? If you're waiting for
I
something to
don't know
happen?
that I've ever heard that before, but you can say that if you want.
That's
it's a free
not
country.
right, is
It's
it?
a free country.
It's not, is it? That's not correct. They know what I mean. You know what I mean, dear listener.
Yeah, I know. We have been left on tenterhooks. It's the first two-parter of the season, the first and only.
Oh, my God. Series 1, Episode 7, and it's already the season finale. We're very early.
I just can't get over that we're 7 episodes into the season and the next episode is the finale, like the final one. Like that just feels wrong.
It does feel a bit wrong. It feels like we are here 5 episodes too soon.
I know. There was a clip I saw going around of Russell basically being like, "Oh, it's here with the finale. It's the final part," and I was like, "Is it?
Is
when?
it?
Since when?
Already? That's ridiculous.
I feel like we were only just watching Space Babies.
We only just got started, didn't we? That being said, my partner said to me the other day, he said, "Do you remember Space Babies?" And I was like, "It wasn't that long ago." He's like, "It feels like a lifetime ago." He was like, "Oh, Space Babies was quite rough, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, it wasn't great."
This is the thing about this era. I was talking to my housemate about it, and like, I've never been to so many like social events as I have in the last sort of 7 weeks. And I was talking to him because he was like, "Oh, what are you doing this week?" You know, after he'd abandoned me. Oh, by the way, no one knows that because we said about that off the mic. I've been abandoned. I've been left all on my lonesome.
Oh yes, you've been left all alone.
Everyone in my flat has all decided to up and leave the country on the same week. I feel a bit targeted, to be honest.
Yeah.
But he was saying, "Oh, what are you doing this week?" And I was like, "Oh, I've got the Doctor Who screening on Friday." And he went, "You Doctor Who fans, you love an event, don't you?"
We do lately. It never used to be a social thing. This is definitely a new thing.
Do you reckon it's because we were never invited to things as children?
Maybe. Yeah. I wasn't a popular teenager. Is that a surprise to anyone? No.
No, me neither.
No. Us now, we're getting invited to the parties. Yay! However, the parties do now drain me. That meme that I've seen going around is a clip from the Pyramids of Mars. He's ascending into Sutek's sarcophagus, and it's like me leaving the party when my social batteries run out. And I thought I'd really relate to that. That's very me.
You literally, there's that TikTok of the guy called like Italian Back or something where he's like laughing.
Yes.
And it just, and it's social. Shut up. How about you shut up?
Shut up.
I don't really know where I get my energy from generally, not just nights out and stuff, because I don't drink tea or coffee. And like, I find that I'm quite an energetic.
You're an extrovert. That's what you are.
It's funny because I never used to be.
You get your energy from.
I never
people,
used to be,
and I get my energy from my own presence.
I guess so. Yeah, as a kid, like growing up, I always just loved my own company. I loved my favorite thing was just being in my bedroom watching TV and like doing my own thing. And now as an adult, this week, like I was saying, I've got a week to myself. I'm like, right, I've got the podcast on Monday, and then I'm seeing someone on Tuesday, and then I'm going around someone's on Thursday, and then I'm doing I've planned something almost every night.
I'm quite childish in that I will have an event in my calendar that I want to go to, that I know I'll have fun at. But the fact that there is anything in my calendar, I'll be like, oh, God. You know, about like pretty much anything. And I really have to just be like, no, you'll like it when you get there. Come on. Even though it's me to me. Be like, come on, put your shoes on. You'll be fine.
You've got to sort of like parent yourself in that moment.
I have to parent myself into liking it. And every time I get there and I have a good time, no matter what the function, I always have fun.
You know who else had to parent herself at times?
Oh, Ruby. If she had Carla.
No, she did.
You know how to parent themselves. It was, what's Lenny Rush's character called in this?
Morris Gibbons.
Morris had to parent himself.
I'm a child genius, 13 years old. I almost want him to like pull in like a, "Governor, I'm 13-year-old boy, Governor, looking around. Working me work.
Sweeping the chimneys. No, I really like Lenny Rush. He's one of my highs this week.
No, I love Lenny. He's great. He's really
Lenny.
good.
And also I hear behind the scenes from a good friend of the pod that Lenny Rush is a lovely person as well in person. Delighted to hear this.
What a lovely 13-year-old boy he is. I've worked on a show that...
He's a nice 13-year-old. People like being like, bad stories about some people. 13.
Oh, no. He does seem... I've worked on a show with him. I didn't actually meet him, but I heard good things.
You heard good things.
He probably was 12
Oh
then,
my God.
So...
We're not literally judging children. I heard she was a bit of a diva.
I mean,
6.
Listen, where else are you going to judge children on a Wholala podcast?
This reminds me so much. Quick thing of did you see that clip of Millie Gibson recalling the time that she won that Soap of the Year award?
Oh my God, yes!
Soap awards, and she was like, yeah, it was a bit awkward because everyone else in that category was literally 6 and 7. And
she was like, I was just about to turn 18.
Yeah.
And they were all children.
Yeah, she was 17, had been cast in Doctor Who, I think maybe. And anyway, you see everyone else who's up for the award and they are children, as in under the age of 10.
And she won the award and she's like, yeah, I feel like they probably should have just given it to one of them.
Yeah, and then Shooty's like, I'll have that.
Oh, it's so funny.
Funny.
Well, in case you haven't realised by now, we are talking about part 1 of the 2-part finale of season 1 of Doctor Who. Episode 7 is The Legend of Ruby Sunday.
El Legendo del Ruby Sunday.
Sure.
It
aired on the 15th of June, which as of time of recording is a mere few days ago, and it currently sits on an IMDb score, a very, very good IMDb score of 8.7 out of 10.
Yes, we have some view. I know we promised we'd stop talking about viewing figures. We have some viewing figures in, and they weren't great overnights. In fact, they were the worst of the season, but I think that's probably because so many people will have watched it on iPlayer.
I will say I have not watched a single episode of this season live at 7 p.m. on Saturday.
But I think it is quite a minority though who are watching on the night of at midnight. It was really small numbers. So in our little Doctor Who bubble where I just sort of imagined everyone did this, if you watch any point before 7 p.m, you're included in those kind of iPlayer overnight figures.
Yeah.
And it was for episode 1, it was 150,000 people or something. And I was thinking there is not a lot of us doing this.
No. Well, I mean, I have a little section I'll talk about once we get into the meat of the episode, but I feel like we are very much we surround ourselves both in person and on Twitter with Doctor Who people who are as manically obsessed as us. And then I come to my judgment of the episode and my thoughts and everything. And I come from it from my perspective and kind of assume that's the wider consensus. And then I have to realize I'm oh shit. No,
yes.
I am in the
You're
minority.
in your bubble. What have we learned from this season? You're in your bubble.
Oh, you've got to get your head out the bubble. Lower the bubble.
We should do a segment on this where we just go out into the wild, I think, and we should just call that segment Bloke on the Street. And whether or not they've seen Doctor Who, we ask for their opinion on the most recent episode and just go what do you think?
I'd be terrified to see how that turned out. Well, look, we're going to do a quick little recap of the story. And as always, we say the episode's on iPlayer. It's on Disney+. Go give it a watch. But if you want a little recap of the story, here it is for you now.
Whatever it is, here it comes.
Oh! The TARDIS lands with a crash into Unit HQ as the Doctor reunites with Kate, Rose Noble, the Vlinks and the team. He and Ruby also meet Harriet, one of Unit's officers, and Maurice Gibbons, a child genius scientific advisor for Unit. They've come to Unit to ask for their help in working out 2 mysteries: the identity of the mysterious woman they keep seeing on their adventures, and the mystery around Ruby's birth mother.
They quickly find out that their description of the mysterious woman matches that of Susan Triad, a tech mogul who is planning on releasing her Triad technology for free global use. Ruby notices that she has the same name as the Doctor's granddaughter and asks if they could even be the same person, which rattles the Doctor. Kate tells them that Mel Bush has been working undercover with Susan Triad ever since they realised that S Triad is an anagram of TARDIS.
They shift their focus onto Ruby's mum and realise they could use the combined efforts of a VHS tape with CCTV of the day Ruby was left at the church in 2004 and a secret time window in the depths of Unit to help find out who her mother is. Ruby quickly befriends Rose and runs back home to grab the VHS, where Carla tells her that if Rose's mum works for Unit, then so will she. She leaves Ruby's grandmother Cherry under the care of their neighbour Mrs. Flood, though once they've left, we see that she's not the sweet old lady she pretends to be. She warns Cherry that the one who waits is finally here and storm clouds surround them.
Back at Unit, they go down to the time window and connect it with the VHS tape footage. The Doctor and Ruby go inside where they meet Colonel Chidozi, a Mancunian unit soldier that Ruby takes a shining to. They power up the time window and pretty soon they're surrounded by a projection of Christmas Eve 2004. They watch the events of the Christmas special unfold as the woman leaves Ruby on the steps of the church, the TARDIS materialises, and the Doctor saves Ruby. However, they soon realise that history and memory is changing as the woman stops and points menacingly at the Doctor.
Suddenly, a red cloud shrouds the projection of the TARDIS, and Colonel Chidozi has gone missing. Carla says that the entity must be the Beast, and we suddenly hear Chidozi's voice booming out, saying that his soul has been seen and he's been brought to hell. The time window overloads and shuts down, leaving Ruby, the Doctor, and what's left of Colonel Chidozi. He's become a pile of sand in the shape of his corpse.
The Doctor and Mel go straight to Triad technology to confront Susan Triad, and the Doctor manages to speak with her before her big speech. She doesn't recognise him, but when he talks about her past lives, it's clear she remembers them as she's taken to the stage. Back at Unit, the VHS tape now has the image of the creature, and Harriet suggests they play the VHS tape backwards to try and work out what it was. Fear strikes them all as they realise that at the centre of the shape of the beast is the TARDIS. Kate orders Ruby to go back to the time window, and the Vlinks warns them that a manifestation is occurring.
The Doctor and Mel follow Susan to the stage, where she starts to remember all her past lives. She collapses, but the Doctor warns them not to help her. At Unit, Harriet starts giving strange warnings about the one who waits arriving, and they realise what she is. Harriet Arbinger is a harbinger of the gods. It's revealed that the one who waits is Sutekh, the god of death, and he's latched himself onto the TARDIS. Susan and Harriet reveal their skull-like faces, and that they are here with Sutekh to bring his gift of death to them. Dun dun dun!
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no, that's no good. Oh no, 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 no. Oh dear. Oh god, as we were going through that, I thought of about 6 more points I want to make in this episode.
Well, you've not done a rewatch this time. You've just watched on original airing, which, to be fair, was only a few days ago.
I haven't, and then I was like, oh my god, I must say that. I know, silly me, silly me.
Well, look, before we get into our thoughts, we reached out to you on our account, as always, and here are some of your thoughts.
Alasdair said, not me, a different one. I really enjoyed the episode. Love seeing the return of Unit and the cast that came with it, and was excited to see where the Susan Twist thread was going. It was all a bit all over the place, but I don't mind, and I'm looking forward to seeing the payoff for what it has set up.
Chris Davis says, completely unfamiliar with them from Classic Who. Is their motivation for coming back in the story? It all feels a little abrupt with only having 8 episodes. Loved it though. The suspense was great. How does Ruby fit into it all? Still so many questions.
Still so many questions. Pete said, I'm still stuck on the theory that Ruby is granddaughter, Susan's daughter, but I absolutely love this episode. I love the idea that the beast from the impossible planet, Satan Pit, is Sutekh.
Ooh. Laura at House of Kaylee says, I've literally just finished it, so incredibly hyped right now, but I really liked it. Strong performances, loved the time window scene, and the reveal at the end was so tense and well done. Mrs. Flood is genuinely kind of terrifying, and I'm so pleased that Kate got some proper shining moments.
Kenny Koala said, I love this episode. It was so frightening and tense. I had a feeling that Sutekh would be the big baddie, and these scenes from the Devil's Cord echo the Pyramids of Mars so much.
Hamish, friend of the pod, said, it feels a little all over the place, while ironically taking place mostly in one room, but I feel like that's how we were supposed to feel, although I thought the big bad looked a little bit unintentionally cute. I just want to give him some pedigree chum.
Sammy said, I think the conclusion has a lot to resolve, and I won't lie, I'm a little concerned/apprehensive. I love the time window scene and the tension built in. That was very tangible and very scary. Love seeing Rose again. I would say, though, that maybe we have too many characters at play.
Will said, I wasn't sure about it when I first watched it, but I enjoyed it much more when I rewatched it after watching the Pyramids of Mars and knowing who Sutekh was. I think it all depends on the next episode, as this was a lot of setup. Very fair.
It does all depend on the landing, doesn't it, I think? Mm-hmm. It's a lot of setup. I think we couldn't really be watching it in a more exciting place next week. I know a lot of people will be in the cinema for part 2, and I think all the cinema screenings are showing a repeat of this and then a 15-minute break and then the finale.
Yes, I'm very excited to watch them like back to back.
Yeah. Back to back to back to back
to back. All right.
Okay, that's a different one I was thinking.
I know, it's a mashup.
Yeah, nice. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited because where does it start? Does the screening start at 11? And then the episode, and then a break. So we're going to watch it at midnight.
Yeah, Church on Ruby... Sorry, not Church on Ruby Road. The Legend of Ruby Sunday is 11 till 11:45. 15-minute break, and then midnight till just before 1 is the screening of The Empire of Death.
Oh, it's going to be brilliant, isn't it?
It's
Go
gonna
on,
be so
Sam.
good.
Kick us off with a thought.
All right, I am going to do something very unlike Wholala. We tend to, if you've listened to previous episodes, kind of go through chronologically. I want to talk about Sutek and the Beast.
Okay.
That is the thing I'm most excited to talk about, and I'm gonna dive in head first.
Okay.
Now, as we mentioned, this episode shows the return of Sutek, a character that hasn't been in Doctor Who since, I believe, 1972. I think it's 48 years since he was on screen. That might be wrong. It might be a couple years out, but it's just shy of 50 years, basically. And I don't know about you. I'm obviously like living and breathing New Who. And I am aware of Classic Who. I did know who Sutek was, even though I hadn't actually seen the Pyramids of Mars before watching this episode. But I couldn't shake the feeling when I was watching this. I was watching with my brother, that we were about to outright and openly see the return of the Beast from the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. We had the voice, Gabriel Wolfe, who originally voiced Sutek in the Pyramid of Mars. 1975. I've just got that data here. 1975. There you go. And he also voiced the Beast in the 2006 episodes Impossible Planet Satan Pit. But beyond just the voice, I think there are so many indicators that this character could be the Beast. And I don't think we're ever going to get an outright explanation. I don't think they're going to flat out say yes or no one way or the other. I think it might be similar to the way that, you know how in Wild Blue Yonder, a lot of people theorize that the monster might be the same monster or maybe an evolved version of the Midnight Monster?
Right, yeah.
I think that it's going to be a situation like that where it's like, look, if you want to believe that, we're not going to tell you you're wrong. But there was just so many things that felt deliberate in this episode. So Chidozi says about being in hell. Like, I feel that's very specific language. Susan Triad says, God knows I don't get a lot of sleep. All that kind of religious subtext. We also get some very deliberate points in the episode where, you know, Carla Sunday says, it's the Beast. They talk about possession. He talks about being trapped for eternity. There's a lot of similar storylines, and I'll talk about it more. I want to hear what you think, but I think that's very plausible sort of theories here saying that they might be the same person.
Yeah, I guess with my clown mask reluctantly on, I agree that it could well be the same monster, and I hope they leave it at what it is now, which is that implication of it could be. And it doesn't go any further than that. I don't really want to go further and go, aha, see, like, here it is, like the link that you can't ignore, like it was the same thing. Because I really like the story with the Beast being a contained thing where it was totally limited to that adventure. The Doctor was so like, I don't know what I just saw. That was one of the worst and terrifying things I've ever come across. I literally met the devil. And that was that. And I think giving it like any other explanation where it's like, oh, actually it was a kind of a god, or it was a, you know, it was this entity who we've also met in this other story, and this is how he was masquerading as the devil. It kind of like just weakens that story for me a bit. So I was like, I hope it isn't. But I agree, the links are there. I wonder if all they're really trying to do is A, do a bit of misdirection as we kind of approach the final reveal of who is the big bad. And then because we have the same voice actor, maybe that just gives itself the biggest kind of hint that it is the same thing, but I don't know.
I just think like the speech. So there's a couple more things as well that like lead me to this conclusion. I agree with you as well. Like, it's a bit like people ask, like, oh, if the Weeping Angels had never ever come back after Blink, would that have made them better in a way? Like, so I completely get what you mean. For me, the speech at the end where they're like, he is the darkness and he is the this and he is the that and he comes by many names, was almost exactly the same as the speech like at the Ood was like, some may call him Abaddon, some may call him Croptor. Like those were so similar. Another big thing that I only saw today, which I thought was super, super interesting, was when in the Impossible Planet, when the TARDIS lands on Croptor, it kind of shudders into it. And when the Doctor and Rose come out, the TARDIS is making a very similar moaning sound.
Right.
And the Doctor goes, oh, it's like it's got indigestion. Like he makes a point of being like, oh, something's up with the TARDIS. Obviously, I'm not saying they were planting the seeds for this back then. That's not the thing. But you just look at all this together and about how like the body of the Beast that the Doctor sees in that episode. How funny that we did this. This was the last episode we rewatched before Space Babies, the Impossible Planet and Satan Pit.
It was.
And
what is the chance?
It's very fresh in the memory.
What is the chance?
That's a coincidence.
That's a coincidence.
And they say that that's the body of the Beast. And he goes, well, then where's the mind?
Yeah.
And obviously the mind possessed Toby Zed, but the mind also seemed to possess the Harbingers. And people are saying that maybe, and like I said, this might never get an explanation, but the mind of the beast, whether, you don't have to label the beast as per any kind of religious deity, but the mind of the beast is Sutek. And he projects himself into different sort of religions and different cultures. He represents himself in the Egyptian ways, and some ways he religions himself in sort of Christian mythology in other ways. And it's all kind of one and the same.
Maybe, but I hope not. That's all I'll say. I'd like to do something fresh.
Valid.
I think even with bringing
Very
back
fair.
Sutek, I think it's nice that they're doing something different, because then I think it doesn't matter if you're not familiar with the old story, because it's different now anyway. And I want them to give you enough that you can jump on and enjoy this without having any reference to the classics, without having to sit down and do your homework with anything else. So I hope it's separate for the first big bad of season 1.
It's a weird one, because like I was worried that people, like you just said, I was worried people who hadn't seen Classico would be like, oh my god, like who's Sutek? Why do we care about him? But my boyfriend who watched it, he was like, well, we didn't watch it together, so I called him and I was like, oh, what did you think? And he was like, oh, I think it's really interesting they're doing such a big bad. And I was like, oh, you know who he is? And he was like, well, yeah, he's the god of death. And I was like, oh, like as a casual viewer, like it really doesn't matter if you know who Sutek is
doesn't
in
matter.
the context of that 1970s episode.
No.
It's just the god of death. Whereas we've all gone and done our homework, and I think we spent a lot of our Saturdays and Sundays watching the Pyramids of Mars.
Well, that's kind of how I felt about it. I was surprised people were like, oh, they shouldn't have done this. Like, how a casual fan's meant to know who Sutek is. And I thought, well, I don't think it matters at all, because Sutek, I don't think they're really doing the same thing this time, because my understanding is, I mean, this is the thing as well. I enjoyed it. I haven't even finished the Pyramids of Mars. Like, I haven't finished it. I will finish it. I will watch the condensed version.
There's a lot more Sutek in the last episode.
Yeah, but I don't think it matters, because I got plenty from that episode to work out that it was like, okay, like it's the god above the gods. It's the big bad, the worst one. He's free. He's the god of death. Yeah, great, plenty there. Like, I don't really need to know much more than that, really, unless I was really trying to, dig deep into the god of death's motivations. But it's there in the name. That's what he is. He's the god of death. Like, what are my queries about his motivations here, or like how to stop the god of death? But I don't think that's there in the original either. And I think they're doing something different anyway, in that it's not the same Sutek. It's almost like the myth made god now.
Yeah,
because
kind of.
Previously it was kind of an alien masquerading as a god. It seems that now, with all the weirdness that's happened at the edge of the universe, it is now a real god with real godlike powers.
It's mad how the seed, like, we'll talk about like the seeds being sown. I think it's more to do with Susan Triad's story, but the seeds of this being sown in that, like, I remember in early interviews before they'd even filmed anything, Millie was like, oh, I'd love to see like an ancient Egypt episode, and Shuti was like, oh, I'd love to see an episode where the Doctor fights the beast. And I think in an interview after the giggle, Russell was like, we've now seen the toy maker, the god of toys, like they're going to see a lot more gods in Doctor 2, and I feel like we were all being pointed in this direction.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
We didn't really see it coming.
We didn't see it coming. And also, if you watch Queer as Folk, there's a clip where, I can't remember his name, one of the main three, is watching Doc 2, and what's that?
He's watching the Pyramids of Mars, Sutek killing the guy.
Russell's had this coming for ages, I think. Yeah, I don't think it matters if you don't recognize him, because you're about to find out who he is. So it doesn't matter, I think.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think the tension was immense building up to that point. I was sitting there and I looked at my watch, and it was like, you're on like 85 beats a minute. And I was sitting still on the sofa, and I was like, whoa, okay. Like, I'm actually like physically tense for this, which is, I love to have a physical reaction to TV. Like, I think it's rare that you actually get to that point where you feel that, like, oh God, something's happening. Even though, like, we knew it was going to end in a kind of, the Doctor is outwitted, the Doctor is outsmarted, the Doctor is kind of outgunned. We sort of knew it was going to be that. We knew it was a trap, and it was still scary. So I think that worked really well.
Yeah, no, I think so too. Well, for me, and this is a critique of this episode, on original watch, and I do think on rewatch, it's changed a bit. I mean, as I was saying off mic just before we started recording, I think our enjoyment of the episode is definitely impaired by the fact that we're watching it, after a full day of work, staying up all night and then finishing at 1 a.m. That definitely kind of impacts our initial watch. My initial thought, which I still think is valid, was that the first two thoughts was generally like fairly dull exposition. It was a lot, especially the first set. It was a lot of telling, like, we've been on adventures and this is the woman we've seen and I have a granddaughter and this is what she was doing and this is where Ruby was born and this is and there was a lot of talking. So the second act was interesting with the memory TARDIS, like, well, not the memory TARDIS, sorry, the time window. But even so, then we were just watching like a projection of things that just happened, and it wasn't until this sort of ominous shape appeared within the time window, which was about 2/3 through the episode, that I was like, oh, now I'm feeling it. And then by the end, I completely agree with you. I was on the edge of my seat for that last bit, but it did feel like we took a while to get there.
What I did like, though, was that I feel like they gave lots of misdirects and red herrings right up until the last second, which was nice. So it just kept you guessing. Like, it really wasn't until the anagram started shifting that I was like, oh, they are doing Sutek. And also the only reason I knew Sutek was because, you know, people on Twitter kind of managed somehow to work it out. I still don't really understand how they worked it out, or like,
I remember one big thing was because there's a video in one of the trailers of like a big sandstorm, and everyone was like, Sutek, sand, Egyptian. Like, that was one thing.
But this is the thing. For me, it's the least obvious reveal of all time. Like, I would never have arrived there on my own. But I liked that we were getting like, you know, the Beast reference, and yes, maybe the Beast is the same character, but maybe not. There was a reference from Carla talking about the Beast. There was the talking about like, I'm in hell, which I found terrifying, that line as well. Like, I'm in hell, my soul has been seen. Terrifying dialogue. The master music as well was in there, like misdirecting, like when I think when oh my god. And it was when Ruby was like running for the time window, and I was like, I recognize that. And then there was that kind of like, is it Susan Foreman gone bad? Like, is Susan Triad about to do something, reveal something, but she seems to almost just be like a victim of this. She doesn't herself know who she is in this scenario. With a villain reveal, I think it's hard to win, because if it's too unexpected, people are going to say it's kind of unearned and it's not kind of been, the seeds haven't been laid properly. If it's too obvious, then it's predictable and people could see it coming a mile off, and people say like, oh, I always saw it going that way. So it's almost like at this point in Doctor Who, we've done 60 years of stories, and like we've already had a million finales with Cybermen and Daleks and the Master, and all of them have shown up more than once now as well for the finales. There's you have to start bringing in either like, you know, completely original villains, or you have to really start like digging through now the lore to pull out something new. So I mean, I thought it was cool.
Yeah, no, it was cool. With Susan Triad, one thing, I loved the little Theresa May.
Oh my god, so
that,
good.
Like, if there's one thing she's gonna do before she goes out, it's make fun of a Tory.
She was so goofy.
She was so goofy and silly.
She was so goofy. I actually love her.
No, I do.
So sweet.
And I love Susan Twist as well. I
hope they managed to save Susan.
I don't think Susan exists.
Am I missing something? Was Susan like not savable?
Well, one thought I've just had this thought right now, is that because they didn't really explain why she's all across time, but it'll be interesting if she's kind of like becomes a bit of a bomb to like spread Sutek's death, you know, like the sand, like spread Sutek's death everywhere. And it's like she's all across time, so you can't travel in time to avoid this happening. Like at every point in time there is a Susan, and she will explode and kill everything. So you can't even use time travel to stop her. Isn't that
is good?
Like, that'd be kind of
he's
cool.
going to activate all the Susans. Susan, activate!
Oh my
Susan's God.
Activate!
But maybe I like that idea.
It could be. What you were just saying about like the reveal, like my initial sort of reaction to it was I was like, oh, I was more invested in the Susan mystery than the Sutek thing, and I was a bit bummed that like the villain wasn't Susan. It was like, oh, Susan's actually just like the sidekick of the real villain, and I hadn't really felt like there'd been many ties to that. We didn't get an answer as to why she is across time, but obviously, as we know, this is part one of a two-parter, so maybe I just came up with an amazing theory, who knows. But like you were saying, yeah, lots of people said they saw Sutek coming. It's because we're chronically looking for it. Like we were saying, the casual viewer, it made me realize the casual viewer, because I was watching an interview with Russell and Susan Twist, and Russell was like, oh, you know, like, did you spot it? Did you catch it? And I was like, oh my God, who didn't see it? That's so like obvious. And then I'm like, if I think about like, I don't know, my mum watching this, and I'm like, would she notice that the woman in the pub who was like, can you do this song? Was also the ambulance? Would she notice that painting was that like, probably
a lot of
not.
them you would
like,
have missed, I
we
think,
are so
forgotten. Yeah.
I think so too. We're so chronically online that, like,
Exactly.
of course we knew, but we're not the general consensus.
Exactly. Yeah. What I also thought was fantastic in the build to the reveal was they managed to make the TARDIS scary. Now that...
Yes, that was really good. God.
I don't know how they did that. I really, truly don't know how they did that. But there is a moment when they are facing the TARDIS.
It's like a long, lingering shot.
A long shot. There might be some... I mean, I haven't rewatched it. I remember it being kind of dim, but there's a moment where it's almost like the TARDIS is staring them down. And I'm like, how have they done that?
I was just watching it before we recorded, and like they kind of slightly dim the window lights, and the front of the TARDIS looks, you know, it's normally like a big blue box. It almost looks like really like dark navy.
Yes,
and
they change,
it kind of slowly zooms in on the TARDIS, and you just hear it go like, and like you hear the noise of the TARDIS before you see it, because Kate stood in front of it, and you hear the like, and then she kind of turns to look at it, and then you have like a slow zoom in that lasts quite a while. Oh, it's good.
Honestly, genius. And also, I've got... How many little TARDISes I've got in here? 1, 2, 3. I've got 3 TARDISes in my room. And
wait, what's your third one?
I've got a teeny weeny mini one. I've got a little one that was gifted to me. And
lovely.
All of them are looking at me funny now. All of them. Like, all of them. I'm now looking at the TARDIS in a way I've never looked at it. I'm like, oh my God.
Well, the thing is it's like a big brick. Like, it looks like it could be dangerous.
But it's because the windows look like eyes now, and they didn't look like eyes before, and now it's scaring me. It didn't look like that. Yeah, I really love as well how this now creates an explanation too for why the TARDIS was moving in the way it was moving this series. Because tweeted
crashing everywhere.
I tweeted in May like, oh my God, I love the way the TARDIS is landing everywhere now. It's so violent. Like, it just spins at this ridiculous speed, and then it collides with a wall. Like, it will just arrive at like 100 miles an hour and just poof into place. And it does it at the start of this episode as well. And someone said like, well, yeah, of course it's doing that because it's got Sutek hanging on. Like, it's so heavy. Like, it's kind of got this whole other creature kind of embedded in the fabric of its self. Of course it's not spinning right. Of course it's harder to control. Like, it's unpredictable now the way it moves because it's literally off balance. And I was like, whoa. But now I'm rewatching all those other scenes and I'm kind of looking at them different. I'm going, oh, like even in Space Babies, the way the TARDIS kind of moves, it makes sense that it's got something else hanging on.
Well, I'm asking myself the question because the question is, when did Sutek latch onto the TARDIS? Because even in the Children Need Special, it crashes into a wall. I would love, and I don't think they'll do this because I think they're trying to keep this era very separate from previous ones. I would love, because I'll ask this question: did the flux destroy Mars, the planet Mars? Because Sutek in the Pyramids of Mars is trapped in a pyramid in Mars. And there's actually a really, really cool... I completely forgot this happened. Have you seen on Twitter this clip of the Sarah Jane Adventures?
Yes, Sarah Jane knocked out a NASA probe and stopped them seeing the pyramids.
Yeah, there's a scene where they disrupt the feed, and the people on Earth are like, oh, what's going on? And then we see in Mr. Smith a pyramid in the distance on Mars, and Rani says, what was that on the horizon? And Sarah Jane, who obviously was in the episode The Pyramids of Mars, she goes, an ancient civilization, ancient and terrible. Some of Mars's secrets are best left undiscovered. I would love a little flashback to sort of the big finale of The Flux with Jodie's doctor. And we see maybe that Mars has been destroyed in the flux, and it didn't destroy Sutek, it just freed him. And then do you remember that the TARDIS was like flying through space? She like ejected the heart of the TARDIS into the flux. What if the only other thing in space at that time beside the flux was the TARDIS? And Mars gets destroyed, and Sutek latches itself, and then not long after that, the Doctor regenerates into David Tennant, and then it's the Children Need Special, and it's crashing around. I think that could be pretty interesting.
Too complex. Counterpoint.
It's way too complex. They'll never do it, but I like it.
Counterpoint. Salt. It's just the salt.
Oh, please don't make it just be the salt.
It's just the salt, babe. It's just the salt.
I'm sick of it being like, oh, this magical, amazing thing happened.
I kind of think when he latched doesn't matter, because if Sutek is kind of across time, the TARDIS could almost be acting wrong before he physically latches, because he will latch at some point. And because the TARDIS is a time machine, if it will ever latch onto the TARDIS could almost react to something that hasn't happened to it yet. That feels to me like a very TARDIS-y thing to happen.
There's a really interesting right at the beginning of the Pyramids of Mars. There's a bit where the Doctor and Sarah Jane are in the TARDIS, and obviously, I think it'd be really fun to have a flashback to the scene. I'd love in a story about Sutekh to have a Sarah Jane flashback, like especially like upscaled or something. But they're in the TARDIS having a bit of a chat, and then everything goes off kilter, and they pan like to the outside of the TARDIS, and you see it literally look like it's been knocked, like it's kind of juddering around. And Sarah Jane looks up and she looks at one of the panels, and she sees an apparition of Sutekh's unmasked face. And the Doctor's like, oh, what are you doing? She was like, did you see that? Did you see that? And I love the idea that he latched himself onto the TARDIS in the 70s, and he's just been there ever since. Like, he's just always been there. I think that could be quite fun.
That would be quite fun, except we've done things since then, like in Matt Smith's era, we flew the TARDIS into the sun and reset the universe. I mean, Sutekh has been obliterated in 6 different ways since that point.
The TARDIS was turned into a human, and she wasn't like, I've been piggybacking a dog since
the way,
1970s.
While I've got you, I've had this jackal on my back for 300 years. I don't know what he's waiting for. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like while Blue Yonder, something definitely happened at that point. You know, the fire shooting out the TARDIS, the music was that warning. Who knows? My favorite maybe clue is the Beatles singing, I've got a dog, he's called Fred. My dog's alive. He's not dead.
There you go. There's always a twist at the end.
My dog.
Do you think we're going to get an answer as to why Ruby makes it snow all the time and why the Doctor doesn't think that's weird? Like, everyone else is like, what the fuck is going on? And the Doctor's just like, there you go.
I think he does think it's weird. I think he is like, I've never seen a power like this. I've never seen a memory this powerful that it's physically snowing. I think that's why he's involved UNIT in this. Because using the time window was an absurdly expensive thing to do. They were very casual in UNIT about like, oh, this is going to use all the nuclear output of Europe. But we'll do it for Ruby because she's a friend of the pod. And why not?
Basically,
UNIT has no oversight as well in that room. They're like, oh, even the Prime Minister can't walk up in here. And I'm thinking he probably should be able to because none of you are elected. Well, I saw someone tweeting about how they don't really like the direction that UNIT's going in because it's basically becoming like Series 2 Torchwood. And they said in any other context, they think the Doctor would be reprimanding them. Like, they're taking alien tech, they're using it for weapons, they're unmonitored, they're going against the Doctor's advice. And it feels kind of like sort of a Von Hartman-led Torchwood. And the Doctor, why is he approving of this, you know? Yeah, there's something weird about UNIT at the minute. Being like as big and as powerful as they are, with kind of a seemingly unlimited budget, no government oversight or interference or involvement whatsoever. And the other thing I would also criticize, I guess, about current UNIT is I've not seen them do anything competently. The only thing I've seen them do competently, apart from some really good Google searches to find the giggle and find Susan Triad, but then what? I mean, they just monitored them, and then what? You know, they haven't defeated anyone. They took out one satellite. That was the one thing I saw them actually achieve.
Well, I will say this: I love all the side characters of UNIT. I completely agree with your point that I do think that UNIT is. I want to see them competently defeat some villains. But I do like the side characters. And I really care about all the characters, even the ones we just met in this episode, like Winston, Harriet, Morris. We met all of them this episode, and I really care about them. I also think the Vlinx is really fun. I'm glad that he got his bit of an upgrade. I thought he might be like linked to it somehow as like a bit of a villain. I'm glad he's not. I also heard people say they kind of wish that he was Mr. Smith, like his role could be played by Mr. Smith, like they've kind of adapted the technology of Sarah Jane. I think in another world, I'm glad that in this context he's not, but I think in another world it would have been interesting if Luke Smith had become a member of UNIT and brought Mr. Smith to UNIT to like work with them. And so when we kept coming back to UNIT, one of the scientific officers or the advisors was Luke, and Mr. Smith was like what the Vlinx was. I think that could have been, in that sort of world, that could have been fun.
On some level, yes. On another level, it would have felt very fan service. And actually, in a way, I'm glad they've been quite restrained with the fan service, because I feel like that's what series like Star Wars with their TV spin-offs have been, I think, guilty of doing, is they pander a little bit to those moments that get a quick rush of reaction, where it's like, oh my God, they brought back whoever Who am I thinking of? I don't know. But I think there's, as well with unit specifically, someone was saying they felt that, there's a lot of characters in play. And I was thinking that's a fair point, because if I was in charge, I would have had Martha Jones down there. We would have... We would have dialed in Joe Grant. Like, anyone I could have thought of, I would have chucked in at some level to the script, and it would have been a mess. So they're better than me.
There's a really sweet interview with Russell where he says that he's excited for Unit to sort of keep coming back, and he wants to keep bringing back like previous companions and filling them in. And he was like, oh, when you come here in 10 years, you're not going to be able to move in the place. Like Bonnie Langford's going to call me and say, can I come in it? And I'm going to say, fine. Yeah. He's just going to completely feel, I will. Oh, but I love Mel as well. I forgot to say earlier, I love how they're writing older Mel. Like, she has that bit where the Doctor's having a bit of a meltdown. He punches the wall. She just kind of stands above him and goes, finished. Like, I love how they changed her from like this screaming damsel in distress to like,
she's competent. She's able to whip him into shape. They've leaned on her best attributes now. I think that she's experienced, she's seen the worst, she's resilient, she's seen a mopey, sulky Doctor, and she's like, I'm not doing this again. She's thinking, all that time I spent with the Sixth Doctor, she's like, I'm absolutely not having this. Get up. And I love that. I just thought, Mel is not having this.
Get up. I'm not having this. She is absolutely fucking not, and I love that.
She really just holds her own as well in that room. Like, she's not rattled by what's going on. She's trying to almost be the one who's like, right, Doctor, this way, attention, over here, please, there's something happening. Hello.
She doesn't become a side character, which I think could have happened. Yeah. And I think it's because of little scenes like with Carla there, and you just have like literally like 10 seconds dialogue with Mel, and she goes, don't worry, I know the Doctor. I've seen the worst things happen to me. I've lost my family, and the Doctor's been there, and he's always tried to save me. And like just little moments like that where, because Mel isn't just a scientific advisor. I think it'll be very easy, because by this point, we saw Sarah Jane once in the Revival, and then she got her own spin-off show. And I think it could be very easy for Mel just to become like a bit of a side character, and I think she deserves so much more than that, so much more stature, so much more respect, and I think that she's getting it, and I'm really, really glad for that, because Mel wasn't a companion I was hugely familiar with before the 60th, and I'm so glad that she's actually getting her flowers.
Absolutely. And also with Mel, with all these things going on, I want to say just again, if we could just go back to that final build that happens towards the Sutek reveal. When I had a look at the transcript, so much is happening. I need to rewatch it for this reason. You have Susan starting to realize what's going on and going, but in every dream I'm there, but who am I? And starting to freak out. You have Mel going, Doctor, there's something wrong. You have Kate do a bit of dialogue that I missed. She says over the phone to him, Doctor, we know the TARDIS is indestructible. If it's turned hostile, how do we fight it? I missed that completely. Scary.
That's such a good line.
Such a good line. And then Harriet is doing, oh my God, Harriet.
Oh, can I read great. Harriet's speech? I've got
You can read it. Go on then. Go on.
First of all, I could never do as good of a performance as the actress who plays Harriet.
Oh, he's performing.
So Genesis Lanier, I think that's how you pronounce her surname. She plays Harriet Harbinger in this, and I also love. There's a bit in Unleashed where she's talking about how it's such a big ensemble episode. She has quite a lot of downtime, and she's like, "Oh, I've got my book, got my Duolingo," and she has this whole bit with the host, and she's like, yeah, I'm learning French. My wife's French, so I'm trying to learn some French. And that's what she was doing while she was in between takes. But her speech at the end, it's incredible. She goes, there's the toy maker, the god of games. There is trickster, the god of traps. There is maestro, the god of music. There is reprobate, the god of spite. There is Mara, the god of beasts, and the threefold deity of malice and mischief and misery. There are gods of skin and shame and secrets. And standing on high is the mother and father and other of them all. For the god of all gods has returned, and his names are many. His name has been Set and Seth and Sithifer, and his one true name for evermore, Sutek.
Ooh.
Oh, it's just so good.
I love like language like that when it's spooky, like, and her children called Doubt and Dread. I'm like, oh yes, give us like spooky twins.
I also love the dialogue, the mother and father and other of them all. I think that is how you do kind of like this gender neutral, non-binary kind of term, but in incredibly well
inclusive
written way.
That make it absolutely fucking terrifying. Doubt and Dread would be a beautiful name for a little girl. Yeah, it did, listen, back to this beast theory, it did remind me a lot of the Satan Pit. Toby saying, I am the sin and the temptation and the desire. I am the pain and the loss. I have been in prison for eternity, but no more. the pit is open and I am free. It reminded me very much of that.
And even the bit with the Ood when they're like, they're like, he has many names. Some may call him the Bad, and some may call him Crocodile, some may call him the Prince of Darkness. And like, it's so similar. You can't.
It's very similar,
not.
And it rattles something in me. It makes me scared. It makes me very scared. And also the prosthetics at this moment were fantastic as well. Like when you have Susan like,
oh, I wrote that
on the
down.
floor.
So good. It's like today's version of Toby Zed. I was so scared of Toby Zed. If I was a kid, I'd be terrified.
Absolutely terrified. Like when you see Susan get up and she's got her ratty, oily, thin hair looking like me on a Monday morning, and then she's got her big hollow eyes like me on a Monday morning, and she's got her red, scary, glowing eyes like me on a Monday morning. I was terrified.
It was very, very scary. This is why I just love prosthetics in Doctor Who, and I think they're so amazing. I think that's why I was really excited to see a Sutek that like is like a humanoid representation of an Egyptian god with incredible prosthetics, maybe with CG enhancement. Like the slugs were really cool in Dot and Bubble because they were practical with like CG enhancement. And I think that what we got, that's a big low for me this episode, is Sutek's dog. Just like the CGI made me immediately think of like Torchwood CGI. And again, the rendering was fine. I think maybe it's the design, maybe it's, I don't know what it is, but it just...
I think it was a design thing.
I think it's a design thing. I didn't like the dog.
Yeah. I didn't like the dog. I think a dog. I think a hound. It wasn't. It was giving me Chamber of Secrets.
Didn't it have like wings?
It had like bat wings. I think like kind of spread around the TARDIS. It just didn't. I almost feel like it should have stayed as a talking cloud, or indeed, as ridiculous as this sounds, like semi unseeable. Was quite
I get that.
Frightening, like something that kind of moves in the shadows, not fully revealing itself, or indeed just possessing people. I didn't love that image. I think when it got to that, my listen, some people really loved it, and that's great. And that's great. That sounded so sarcastic.
And that's great for
that's great for them. They're tasteless, but for me, an enlightened person, I just felt like I saw it and I just went, oh. And that was kind of what I said. I was like, So, I don't know. I don't want to dunk on anyone else who did enjoy it. That's also so key. This has been so key this week, actually. Let me make this point quickly as well about dunking on Doctor Who generally, because I think the analysis of an episode on Doctor Who Twitter so quickly strays into just, really pulling apart every little thread. Well, that doesn't seem right because that doesn't line up with this thing said in another episode, and that can't possibly make sense. And really being pedantic of the little teeny weeny details of something. But I saw this lovely tweet from someone, Kenny J, and they responded to a clip where someone had uploaded that final scene, and they said, "So I'm a new Doctor Who fan, hadn't watched an episode till this season, not one. The way this show bounces around between camp and whimsy and folly and actual terrifying things so effortlessly amazes me. I love it. And I only started watching because of Shooty Cat was casting." And I thought, yes.
Oh, I love that.
Welcome to Doctor Who. That's what we do.
Much.
That's what we do.
This is what I want for this season. I want people to see how, because Doctor Who, as I've always said, Doctor Who is the best show in the world, and it's also the worst show in the world. Like, it bounces from, the Satan pit to Love and Monsters, and I also love them both. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Do you know what, actually, on this subject, we went to the Gallifrey Cabaret sort of big celebration in the Hatton Grand this weekend.
We didn't mention that.
And it was so, so lovely, and it was so busy, and we met a lot of you lovely listeners there, so thank you so much for saying hi to us if you did. And I had some really nice conversations where people were being ever so lovely about the podcast, and they were saying that what they enjoy about Wholala, this is a little toot our own horn a bit, I guess.
Come on, toot that horn.
They were saying that even if, though, we're very, very honest about our opinions, we're not here, listen, I'll say this, we're not paid by the BBC. We're very much an
We're not?
podcast. We're not? Well, I've not been seeing the checks.
Was I meant to be splitting those with you?
Oh, shoot, I guess so.
Oh, shoot.
But they were saying, like, it's clear that we're not going to lie and say that we loved something we didn't. We're going to be very honest about our opinions, but we also try our best to be quite positive, because like you said, it's not about dunking on Doctor Who. I'm not here to say I love this and you hated it so you're wrong, or you like this but I thought it was bad so you're wrong. I'm here to say, hey, I love this and I didn't like this, and but I love Doctor Who, so like I just want to talk about it. This is why we started the podcast. It's literally just to talk about our favorite shows. So thank you for listening with us.
And if it ever gets that bad, we'll just go back to series 3 and then we'll just rattle on. But no, it was nice. Well, that's the thing as well. All this kind of nitpicking about like, wow, people aren't going to know who Sutek is. I mean, true, but also I don't know that's I don't know if that's the reaction to take from it. I think the more likely reaction for a fan who's kind of dipping their toe in is like, holy shit, this is pretty scary. And I wonder who Sutek is, not kind of just like, well, I don't know who that is, so I'm not interested.
And then if they want, they can then look into it and they'll find out he's been in it before. But if they don't want to, then hopefully at least we'll see in the second part. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you'll get reintroduced to the character.
For sure.
Off the back of talking about how good Doctor Who is, I hate the by generation. Why does 15 not remember who the uncle is?
Oh, it's messy. I don't
This is me bouncing from how much I love it to being like,
exactly.
I hate it.
We were like, well, we're not going to do that nitpicking, but here is exactly one of the nitpicky talking points of the week.
I could not say it.
How I've made my peace with this, it's just like that he does remember, but he's almost doing a polite formality of, how is your family? How's everyone doing? You know, but not really asking, fill me in, because he's kind of like, I was there and I know I was there. But I think the Doctor always regards their previous or future selves as almost other people. And so, well, not fully, but I think different lifetimes.
I just think, I saw someone tweet and they were like, every time I hear more about By Generation, it just gets a bit messier. And I'm like,
it's really messy.
I just find it funny that somewhere on present day that day, like, you know, when at the end of the next part, when all's said and done and, you know, they save the world, Mel's going to go back home and she might go by Donna's house and say to the 14th Doctor, like, you're not going to believe the day
You're not going to believe what's coming for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's really messy. I think you almost can't neatly have a situation without ignoring it where you're saying that Mel and Rose's and Donna's daughter Rose both work in unit. So, and presumably live with or regularly see the other Doctor who is further back in the timeline, but not overlap. Like, it doesn't quite work, does it? So I don't know if there's just like a strict rule in the household where he's just like, tell me nothing about what happens because it'll end the world, and maybe that's just what they do. Is they just agree that we're not gonna fill you in. But you'd think in this kind of catastrophe, you wouldn't be able to resist.
Give him a heads up. Yeah. I maybe want to give him a heads up, but
and also Sutek is chilling in the garden with them the whole time. That TARDIS is parked while they're having their little picky bits lunch right next to them.
Oh my god, yeah, because
he's parked there for years on Earth.
Sutek's just sat there chilling.
Oh my god! Watching.
Wait! Oh my god! Realization on the pod. This wasn't a note. I've literally thought this right now. Oh my bloody god! So let me take you back to the giggle. Okay, ending scene. Barbecue. We're having apple crumble. What does Rose say that the Doctor did with her?
They went to New York. No. What did they do?
They went to Mars. Every bit of writing in this era has been deliberate. There has not been a line of dialogue that's not been deliberate.
Oh my God.
They wrote into the giggle that they're using Triad technology in UNIT. He knew what his wider plan was, and he made a point. Rose is in this episode. Why is Rose in this episode? Why does Rose work for UNIT? That's a really weird thing. I wonder why.
Mars.
They made a point of saying, you took me on a trip to Mars.
They went to Mars. Oh, screenshot that quick. I think we're first to it. Quickly.
Oh my
Hurry
god.
up.
This is the clip that's going to be on the socials. Hi Instagram, hi TikTok. Oh my god.
Hi girls. Wow, that's pretty good. I have a horrible feeling they won't pick up on that. But
probably not, but there you go.
It's because I don't think it was any deeper than, Wilfred shooting moles. But like, and then what do the moles have? A force field. Anyway.
Dun.
But yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Great.
That'd be cool.
I don't know. But I don't know where they're going to go. Yeah, next week, I mean, I'm really clueless. I mean, I think, the time window and the memory TARDIS will come into it as an escape. But in terms
can
of
I give you my theory?
Go on, give us a theory.
Well, I spoke to you about this off camera, but so for everyone listening, my theory, and this only really for the first third of the story, I think this is how the next episode is going to play. So I think that we'll have a very brief bit of dialogue, maybe like 1 minute with the Harbinger, maybe even 30 seconds, and as in the Susan Triad Harbinger, and then she's going to somewhat explode into like sand, and the sand's going to engulf everything, and everything around her will become sand. And the Doctor and Mel run away and get on the bike. And then they bike away, and everything is turned sand. This big, big, big sandstorm. They get to unit, and they run into the time window with Ruby, and they're confronted with Sutek. And the Doctor has a bit of dialogue, being like, "I will stop you." And then he manages to get the image of the TARDIS, because there was that line in the last episode about how, like, what happens, if the memory of a time machine is in a time window. He makes the memory TARDIS real. They all run in the memory TARDIS and they fly away in the memory TARDIS, and then the entire world, including everyone else in the unit, becomes sand, including like 14, because everyone's like, why didn't he help? And he was probably just having his lemonade and turned into a sand.
He got annihilated.
He got annihilated. Then they're flying above Earth, and the Doctor's like, oh my god, everything's been destroyed. What can I do? And my sort of theory is they then are like flying around the universe a bit, and quite a bit of time passes trying to find some way or someone who can help them defeat Sutek. And they then end up on a mysterious planet with this kind woman. We don't know who she is yet, and it all kind of rolls from there. That's how I sort of see it.
Interesting. That's maybe more what. Yes, I would have imagined that would be a sort of sequence of events. And I think you could infer. I don't think that's spoiler either, because it's a theory, so it's not literally.
I haven't heard any leaks or anything. That's literally me piecing together the trailers.
And B, exactly. That's trailer content. And I probably would have arrived at the same idea. What I can't work out at all is how they will get from that point to the big reset button, because it'll have to be a big reset button. I think when you kill that many characters or a planet, it'll have to be a big convenient reset button plot device. Not sure how they're going to do it. Do you reckon
they'll all just sort of remember the Doctor and then he'll turn into Space Jesus?
I hope they don't do that again, or I hope let's just never discuss that ever happened, really.
Oh, we'll get there.
Yeah. I'm interested to see, like, I'm looking forward to that sequence, the action sequence, I think, getting back to unit. And the little clips we've kind of seen of people like scrambling and struggling as kind of sand engulfs everything. I'm anxious. I'm anxious for that part. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm scared.
We'll find out.
I'm frightened.
Well, before we find out what happens in the Empire of Death, I've got a little game for you, Alasdair.
A little game.
It is a game called Camp or Damp.
Woohoo! Yeah, boy. Let's go.
Now, for anyone who's never listened to a Wholala episode before, we like to play a little game called Camp or Damp. We go through a few moments from the episode we've just watched, and we say whether they're camp or whether they're damp. Alice, are you ready to play?
I'm always ready to play Camp or Damp. I spent all week waiting for this.
Oh. Mel's carrot orange motorbike, camp or damp?
Camp? Was it in this episode?
Yeah, she drives it from when she gets the DNA sample. She drives it back to unit, and then she drives the Doctor and her. I think on it.
See, that's why I need the second watch. Yes. So camp, adore.
Carrot juice.
Sorry, I thought that was a quote from the episode, and I was like, no, I don't remember that.
I'll tell you what it is from the episode though. Unit's child staff, camp or damp?
That's a bit camp, isn't it? I think I don't think it matters too much, because also, like, listen, the audience, the target audience really are somewhere between kind of, 8 and 18, probably a lot of like the younger fans who
they're like, it could be me,
like that's an important part of it. I think is kind of like buying into like, I could work for unit. I think you have to have a bit of a way in to believe the fantasy a bit as a kid. I quite like it, because we grew up with the Sarah Jane. I mean, the stakes were high for them too. Those kids, why was Sarah
they were
Jane
against the god of traps?
Sarah Jane got them into all sorts of nonsense that they shouldn't have been doing. So if Kate's paying them for it, fair enough. At least they're getting some income.
Yeah. And finally, and this isn't actually in the episode, it's kind of what the fans have inferred afterwards. The imaginary beef between all of the gods and the tricks, the camp or damp.
Oh my god! If anyone missed this week, the memes about the tricks of this week have been absolutely sending me. The best ones I saw, I completely forgot to mention this. There's this kind of like dynamic that like all the other gods kind of bully the trickster because of the fact that he's lost to literal children who are about to do their GCSEs and Sarah Jane Smith. And that, how many times did he try and stop them? Three times. And that they are just like, you are useless. And this dynamic where they just all just think he's a bit shit, really. And then like there was the other, what was the other meme? It was where like it was a clip from Derry Girls where Toto's dead and Toto the dog is dead, and instead they've made it the trickster mourning his beetle, so he's upset about the beetle that's just died. And he's like, he's gone, and they're just like, it was a dog.
I thought you were going to say the clip from Derry Girls where the gig and Nicola Culkin's characters just like beat up a kid.
Yeah, beat up that kid. It's like, tell me, didn't beat up that Wayne. What accent was that? That was full Bayesian.
She's like, I'm protecting our territory, and they're like, are you on glue? It's so good.
So funny.
I love it.
Where do
so
these
much.
gods dwell when they're not on screen or being summoned by soul? Are they just outside
Do you
the
reckon
universe?
that they're all? Did you ever used to watch on How It Should Have Ended on YouTube? They had like the superhero cafe and like the villain's tavern, where every villain from every movie ever, every hero from every movie ever was either in this like pub or this cafe. Like I like to believe that like they're all, you know, the Mar, this huge snake, and the trickster and Jinx Monsoon. They're all just hanging out in this pub somewhere.
I imagine they're somewhere beefing with each other. Or what was the other good show? The Sandman. It's probably a bit like that, isn't it? They've all got their domains.
Yeah. They've all got their own, like, you know what? That's probably what it is. Do you know what? What we were talking about before about how I never want answers to this. Like, something can be bad because you see it too much. Completely valid point. What I think would be a fun project, so I'm not saying I would ever want to see, is a mini series where the Doctor, or another character, doesn't have to be the Doctor, travels through the dimensions of the Pantheon, and they visit, like, one episode's in the Trickster's lair, one episode's in Maestro. Like, what does Maestro's world look like? What does the world of the Mara look like? What does the Trickster's domain look like? Like, you see where all these creatures are, and then you finally end up at Sutek. Like, that would be kind of cool.
Maybe that's what will happen. Maybe we're going to have to get the Doctor to negotiate with another god to try and undo Sutek's influence. I don't know.
It'll have to be the Trickster because they've all got beef with them.
Yeah. Hopefully we're going to learn something about Ruby and whether she has some kind of ability, Zelda style, to seal away Sutek again. We'll see.
Let's see. Well, before we get to that week, I've got a few fun facts for you. Okay. So I think we mentioned it in the Space Babies episode. Originally, Lenny Rush was cast as the voice of the Space Baby. What was his name? Was it? I want to say like it wasn't Dylan. What was the Space Baby's name?
Oh, the main one. The
main one.
The first one.
Oh, Eric. It was little Eric. Little baby Eric. But they then pulled that role. They cancelled that role because Ross Davies wanted to give him a bigger part in this series. So he wrote the role of Morris for Lenny Rush.
Correct behaviour. Lenny Rush is great. I saw him in Am I Being Unreasonable, which is on iPlayer, and I do recommend.
Oh, it's written
so
by good.
And starring Daisy May Cooper. He's a very good actor. He's very funny. His comedic timing is excellent as well. All his lines in this one about
I can't believe he was like 10 when he was doing
trap,
that.
95% and rising. He's brilliant. Every time he said something about like chance for trap, 95% and rising, I enjoyed that very much.
This episode in Italy with a spoiler-filled title. Now, the title in Italian, please forgive my bad Italian, was Il Dio della Morte, which means the God of Death. That's what it was called in Italy.
That is so spoilery.
Mm-hmm. Like, literally, the episode should have been called, like, Sutek Coming Back.
Was it always announced as that?
I guess. I don't know. That was what the title was when it was said.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. So, at the age of 91, another fact, Gabriel Wolfe returns as the voice of Sutek. I didn't realise he was that old, bless him. For the first time on television in nearly 50 years. And obviously, as we were mentioning earlier, it's Gabriel Wolfe's second voice acting credit post-2005, in a post-2005 story. First one voiced in The Beast, in The Impossible Planet and Satan Pit, when a lot of people on original viewing, obviously this went over yours and my head, thought that when it was announced, Sutek would be coming back. But, of course, he was playing The Beast.
I hope we get to hear then more of his voice, not layered, just his voice. I don't think we heard tons, did we? That was just him. Wasn't it all layered with Susan and all layered with Harriet?
No, we didn't hear tons. In the Pyramids of Death, you hear it a lot. And obviously it's different because it was now like, nearly 50 years ago. But
yeah,
I'd be interested to hear more of his voice.
Well, that's it. Is voices get so much more interesting, I think, when people get older. And
yes.
I think I want to just hear like a nice, proper, like rich voice on its own.
Yeah. My final fun fact, and this I actually think is a very interesting one. Harriet says that the CCTV camera that was filming Ruby on the church on Ruby Road was positioned at a storage yard 66 metres away from the church.
Yes.
Now, 66 metres equals 73 yards.
Yeah.
And I think that is too much of a... That's a coincidence. I think that's far too much of a coincidence to actually be a coincidence.
Well, several ways you can read that. Is that just linking to 73 yards in the sense that, you know, the woman in 73 yards really was just a manifestation of her worst fear, a woman just out of sight and unknowable, unseeable? Or is it also a hint that the woman carrying Ruby is Ruby?
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I think like on day one, I was like, oh, it's probably just Ruby. And I'm hoping it's not because I think that's a bit easy, but...
Yeah. I have chosen to now believe that Ruby is the doctor's daughter, because of the way they've been talking. The way they've been talking about kind of, I have a granddaughter, but I haven't had kids yet. So like Time Lord's
I don't know
wrong
about
order.
that as well. It kind of retcons the doctor's daughter. I don't know. Anyway, that's a conversation for another pod.
But I was like, why would they have said that if not to
do something with it?
And is it possible that the reason the doctor is so attached to her, maybe that's why she turns and points. It's like, I'm you. The reason the memories changed is because you saw me, recognized yourself, and you had to forget again. And the reason he has to take Ruby back to the church and abandon her, even though she is his child, is because he can't change events. So he has to leave her in the same place, knowing that Carla will come and find her.
There you go.
And then when he finds Susan, then he gets to kind of pay off that debt. But who knows? Who knows?
Well, I'll tell you who knows. It will be all of us next week when we watch the finale to this season, The Empire of Death.
Empire of Death. I was so sure it was going to be a Dalek story as well.
I was so sure it was going to be, but yeah, alas, this is why you can't believe spoilers.
Still could be. A bit weird now.
Still could be. Well, I want to thank you, dear listener, for listening to this episode of Wholala. Next week, as mentioned, we'll be watching the series finale to part 2 of the 2-parter, The Empire of Death. But before then, we want to hear from you. We want you to reach out to us on all of our social media platforms at HulaPod. That's our X account, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all of which are HulaPod, and let us know what you thought of the episode. You can also rewatch old episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel at HulaPod.
Yes, and if you'd like to support the podcast, you can rate us 5 stars. You can follow us so you get notified when new episodes come out. You can check out our coffee, KO-FI, if you want to give us some money. Or you can just share the podcast with a friend, someone else you think would enjoy it. Share an episode on your story so someone curious can have a listen. Or go onto our Instagram page and have a look at our reels. And we've posted some clips from our episodes there as well, and you can share those.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Oh, also, tonight, night of recording, is the drop of Tales of the TARDIS, so we won't have seen it yet, so enjoy that.
Oh, yes. Enjoy Tales of the TARDIS.
Bye.
Bye.